Welcome to the Week in Review with Brandon Hanson, Managing Editor of the CHEWELAH Independent, and Scott Schlaufman, General Manager of Northern Lights Public Radio. Brandon and myself today will review the week's national, regional, and local headlines with a uniquely Stevens County point of view. Thanks for joining us. In our lead story today, we'll start off with Mr. Brandon Hanson, and I believe you have a teacher's contract in hand?
Yes, this is big news. The CHEWELAH School Board of Directors voted to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the CHEWELAH Education Association and the CHEWELAH School District at their regular meeting October 17th.
Okay.
We had kind of heard that the teachers union had ratified that agreement, and this is just the school district agreeing to it as well. I'll just throw some details out there. I want to say before saying this is kind of the high end of what a teacher can make. This includes like the stipends that they would qualify for and things like this. So if you come in as a teacher for the CHEWELAH School District, you could make $43,147 with the stipends and the extra kind of credits you would get there. And this is a new teacher with a bachelor's degree and with no experience. Now the low end, if they don't get that stipend or anything like that, would be about $41,000.
That's for a brand new teacher.
Right, brand new teacher. And now this goes all the way up to the highest amount on the pay scale for a teacher would be $83,801 if they meet all the the stipends and they get all the little extra credits and stuff. You know how contracts go; they're very complicated.
Sure.
So we could sit here all day and talk about.
That's a huge salary.
Yeah. And this is if you're a teacher with a master's degree plus 90 credits of additional education. You take college courses or things like that to increase your teaching
Sure.
knowledge there, or a PhD with 16 years of experience. So really putting the value in experience for CHEWELAH schools, and if you have an extra degree, that certainly bumps you up in the pay scale. The teachers union also said it fixed errors from the old salary allocation model from the state of Washington, which it used to be based on before this McCleary decision threw everything up in the air. It values having a master's degree more.
Makes sense.
Yeah, which makes sense. And it addresses class size within the district, which, as you all know, class sizes are important to people. So if teachers dealing with 30 kids, that can kind of cause
Sure.
you to tear your hair out there. So, just with this, I also want to point out that when I say 83,000, the low end of that, if that PhD person doesn't get that stipend, it doesn't qualify. It's more like 79,000. Again, these are contracts, so they can change.
So kind of ranging from roughly maybe 41 for a new teacher all the way up to 80 something with somebody that has a lot of experience and degrees behind them.
Yes, and 16 years of experience. So that's getting close to kind of almost retirement if you have a PhD and 16 years of experience. You've been teaching for a long time there. So, and this comes after negotiations that started in August. There is a lot of back and forth. Some people were worrying about a strike, although the teachers never threatened that. But they did put Facebook photos up of themselves with like their belongings from their classrooms in their car. And then it seemed like quickly after that, everybody kind of came to an agreement there.
Well, and when you see them out on the street with signs, you kind of think that.
Yeah, right. And also I want to say at this CHEWELAH School Board meeting, Deanna Norvell, who is the chair of the school board, read a letter of kind of support for the superintendent, Rich McFarland, who did the negotiation on the district's behalf, and just really supporting and saying, hey, we put Rich in a tough spot doing the negotiation, being the new superintendent to come in and has to figure this out. And CHEWELAH wasn't the only school district that dealt with this. It just seemed like our negotiations stretched on a little bit longer there. So she had a letter to say, hey, we really support Rich. He's dealing with a lot of things. I know Rich is now addressing kind of the facilities in the district in terms of the condition of the middle school, the grade school, and the high school. So good luck, Rich. We're rooting for you.
Good luck. What a tough job.
Right.
All right. Good job. More excitement, right? Ballots are out in the mail. We should be through all the political forms now.
Yes.
General election right around the corner. Ballots have been mailed out. Keep an eye open for your ballot in the mail. And please mail your ballot no later than Election Day. That's November 6th this year. Or you'll be able to drop off your ballot at an official drop-off sites in Stevens County. I think usually here it's the UUC Church on the corner of Webster's usually has a
Yeah, it's always been that, right?
Yeah.
Since I can remember.
Remember, prepaid ballots are new this year, so you don't even need a stamp. So according to Washington Secretary of State Kim Wyman, she said that Washington's vote-by-mail system is one of the safest in the nation. Washington's ballots can be checked if any questions arise about results, and the machines that count them are not tied to the internet. So,
Take that, Russia.
yeah, take that. No conspiracy theories going on here. Online registration to vote also has firewalls and sensors in each county to detect suspicious activity. Spokesman Review is reporting.
Well, that's good news to know that
Yeah.
maybe we won't get hacked there. So.
That's right.
Although if I win the governorship, something's up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Stevens County, definitely a hotspot for Russian hacking.
Yes, definitely there. Moving on to this next story. Former Washington Bar president brought up on theft charges. So this is a
Ooh.
lawyer. Robin Haynes, the former Washington State Bar president, has been brought up on 3 charges of second-degree theft, first-degree theft, and first-degree identity theft by Spokane County prosecutors. Haynes, age 40, is accused of buying a gym membership and donating to political funds using the credit cards from 2 former employees. She's accused of stealing $26,000, and this is after she became the youngest president in the history of the state bar in 2016.
Wow.
So
That is not good.
yeah, that is not good. That's a world of trouble, and it's kind of a bummer because I bet you Spokane was excited to have the youngest bar president, and she's from our city, and it's kind of a cool younger
Sure.
generation come up, and then this comes up, and you're kind of like, oh,
Then there's some egg on the face, right?
yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we'll shake up some more things here. 3 earthquakes off the coast of Vancouver Island. That's scary. A little too close to home, right?
Yes.
U.S. Geological Survey recorded 3 earthquakes that reached above the magnitude of 6.0 on Sunday morning. Some people reported feeling the quakes, but no reports of damage occurred. The quakers were shallow and an approximate depth of 10 kilometers. The location of these earthquakes was about 100 miles off the coast of Vancouver Island. Strongest earthquake was a 6.8 at 10:16 p.m. No tsunami warnings were issued on this.
Yeah, and the thing with that is we live on the rim of fire, and
Yes.
that's always an issue, especially considering the Puget Sound area, all the people that live along the coast there. Anytime there's kind of big earthquakes there, you kind of have to worry. I think tsunamis might be a bigger danger than the actual shaking, but there was a report that came out, I think it was 2 years ago, that said, when the big one hits that western Washington area, everything west of I-5, that I-5 corridor, everything west of it, you can just kiss goodbye.
Wow.
And that's terrifying.
I know I was always paranoid there, especially if something was going on in Hawaii, because you figure it's all, looped together. Every time I got on the Alaska Way Viaduct, I know they've changed some stuff there too, but I was just like triple pancake highway. There's a road below and 2 stacked on top of each other. That kind of stuff gets scary. Hey, I mean, we saw it in California years ago.
Yeah, kind of feeling like a lobster looking at a boiling pot or something like that.
Now, you were probably too young, but in the 80s, and I want to say it was Wallace, but maybe it was a different Idaho town that had the earthquake in the 80s. I mean, they had some buildings partially come down and stuff like that.
Okay.
And when that earthquake hit, I was a senior at JHS, and it woke me up that morning.
Really?
And I ran outside because it was weird and things
Right.
were shaking, and I was actually almost finishing with high school. I was staying in Mom and Dad's motorhome, and it was shaking, so I thought somebody was shaking the RV, and I
Right.
got up and jumped out of the RV, and then I could see all the power lines swinging and stuff, so that was kind
Oh.
of spooky. But that's the closest I've came to an earthquake, but you could actually, from that one, feel the ground shake, so there must be some kind of connected, at least little fault line to CHEWELAH.
Yeah, we're part of it.
Sorry.
I remember when the one hit in Seattle, I believe in 2001, that shook some buildings in Seattle, caused some brick buildings to kind of knock some bricks down and caused a little bit of damage there. It could be felt over here, and I remember we were in school, and all of a sudden the flag inside the classroom just starts shaking, and then people standing up kind of had an issue there, and that was kind of creepy.
Get under your desk.
Yeah, exactly. So.
I don't think, do they do those alarms, those tests anymore in schools, I wonder. All right, I have one more here, Brandon. A teenager shot to death in downtown Spokane. This teenager is dead after being shot at the intersection of West Main Avenue and North Washington Street on Wednesday evening in Spokane. Eddie Daniels III, a 15-year-old student at Lewis and Clark High School, was killed over a dispute over a marijuana pipe involving a whole bunch of people, it says. Suspect is 27-year-old Joel Tyach, who was caught after a 3-hour search by authorities. And that story comes from KXLY.
Yeah, it's an interesting story just because Spokane is growing as a city, it's changing as a city, and you have Lewis and Clark, which is right downtown, and it's an open campus. So kids can leave and go as they please. So you kind of have this weird issue where you have these high schoolers in the middle of basically downtown, and there's some unsavory areas of Spokane that, you don't want kids just floating around. And this is just one example and one issue that Lewis and Clark is going to have to deal with, and one issue Spokane is going to have to deal with. If you have kids getting shot, that's not a good look for Spokane there.
Not at all.
And a story did come out that Lewis and Clark is working on getting kind of a cafeteria building built so they can close the campus. And if kids, want to eat or gather somewhere, they got to do it in this new building that they're trying to get a levy passed on. So it's Spokane has always been a little bit iffy to walk downtown, I feel. I know it's gotten a lot better in the past years with more business and just kind of a revitalized downtown, but there's still some scary areas, and this is just another example of you really got to watch out sometimes.
It is a big city.
Yeah.
CHEWELAH's been snubbed.
Yes, they have been snubbed.
No!
We're moving to sports here.
Okay.
This is outrageous. So, despite CHEWELAH defeating number 1 6th-ranked Northwest Christian last Friday, CHEWELAH was again snubbed by the Associated Press in the latest high school football poll. Yeah, I'm the guy that waits on Wednesday to see it come out and really excited to see if CHEWELAH is ranked. Northwest Christian fell from number 6th in the state to number 8 in the rankings, while CHEWELAH was nowhere to be found in the rankings. Reardon, which had beat CHEWELAH earlier in the year, moved to number 7 in the state. So this is frustrating for CHEWELAH, which has a great football team this year. They have defeated 3 schools that were state ranked when they beat them there, and yet they have no rankings or anything like that. The Max Preps, they're like the online high school football website that keeps scores and stuff like that. In their computer rankings, they have CHEWELAH ranked number 8th in the state. But the AP poll is voted on by sports writers all across the state, and CHEWELAH's nowhere to be found.
Wow.
One issue, my buddies over in Centralia, for the Centralia Chronicle, said CHEWELAH's not even on the voting choice. It's not even a choice in their online ballot. And this makes me think CHEWELAH was an emergency drop down to the from 1A to 2B because they lost so many kids in 1 year. They're like, hey, we got to move down. We're down to 180 something kids, and we're going up against Deer Park with like 500 kids. So this is an issue. The WIAA granted this, but it makes me think maybe it was outside of the classification cycle. Usually the state does this every 2 years where they're like, all right, how many kids do you have? Okay, you have this many, we're going to drop you down to this level, or we're going to move you up.
So we got missed, basically.
Right, because we did it in between this cycle. So maybe the poll, CHEWELAH isn't on there because the Associated Press didn't put CHEWELAH in the proper classification, because why would they move a school in between those classification cycles? So I think I might be onto something, but I'm still going to call it a West Side conspiracy there.
Okay, excellent.
And also Colville, who has a great team. If you ever get the chance to go up to watch Colville play football this year, do it. They're a great football team. They're ranked number 4 in the Max Prep Sports computer rankings, but they're not ranked in the AP poll, which is frustrating because they have done a fantastic job this year.
All right. Way to go, Colville.
Yeah, way to go there.
One last question before we wrap up today's show for you, and that'd be, we're coming down on the election. I know it's been very stressful
do you want
in the
hot
middle
takes?
of the newspaper. What'd you say?
Do you want hot takes? Do you want me to give hot takes on the election?
Yes, hot takes on the election.
It's coming down to the wire. One thing I would say is, vote. You need to get the vote out there. And you can't really complain if you don't put your ballot in there.
That's right.
One thing I'd say different about this election, though, is just a big story came out in the Spokesman this morning about kind of all the plot lines going on in the Stevens County elections. You might want to take a peek at that. I feel that we've covered quite a few kind of stories that were included in that Spokesman article, but it's a good rundown and kind of a good summary of kind of
what's going on here in Stevens County?
Kind of the drama that we've been dealing with on a daily basis. So it's almost like I'm like, oh, that was my life the last 3 weeks or so. But yeah, I still kind of go back. We talked a few weeks ago about I don't know where this county is going to go in the future if there's this much dysfunction with our county government
afterwards.
Yes, that is what I'm worried about. Is you still, once you get elected, you got to do your job. And if there's so much division up there, how does anything get done?
Now, last week, what was it, Thursday, the Independent and the Chamber had your candidates forum. How did that go?
It went good. It was the last candidates forum, I think,
of the cycle?
Of the cycle. So I think everybody was kind of like, let's get this over. let's finish this up, because, I can't imagine how many forums they've done. It seemed like, every week there's 2 or 3 they were going to. So I bet by the time they got to ours, they were pretty exhausted there. But we had a different format where they gave a short speech. Everything was pretty low key. I was expecting maybe a few candidates to trade barbs, but they didn't do it this time. I think they were kind of done with the forums there.
It was a little easier for them, that one, because they just had to give their speech and then mingle.
Yes, correct. Just kind of mingle, and people could go up and ask them questions at their table, kind of deal, which I think is fair. But I did hear an idea for the next election, maybe to have smaller forums where somebody would ask each candidate like 5 questions or something like that. But you'd really have to separate it to like 5 candidates per forum or something like that.
Because it takes a long time to get through them. The one I did for the Northeast Washington Realtors was, I think, 3 hours, 2 hours of the audio still on YouTube. Did you happen to record yours on Tuesday?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we put it on YouTube. Just broke it down via candidate. So you can either go to our website, CHEWELAHindependent.com, and look for the link that says CHEWELAH Meet and Greet, or just go to our YouTube page. You just you search CHEWELAH Independent in the YouTube.
So that'd be a great spot for some to hear the candidate speeches and stuff too there.
Yeah, if you want to listen to what they have to say, and kind of they have their speech polished by now, so they kind of know what they're going to say there. So you can see how they look and giving the speech, and visual is always kind of important to see what they're doing, what visual cues they're giving.
And ours on YouTube is audio only. So if you go to KCHW 2 on YouTube, it'll be the video should be the video right under this one.
Right.
And you'll be able to you can see them take some questions from the audience maybe, or you can hear them and how they reacted to that.
Right. So yours was the exciting one, I hear. So goodness.
It was actually, I've done them before where they got out of hand. Everybody, hats off to Colville. They were all very respectful.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good job, Colville.
All right. That's our show for this week, for the week of October 26th, looking back.
All right. Have a good week.
This has been the Week in Review with Brandon Hanson, Managing Editor of the CHEWELAH Independent, and Scott Schloffman, General Manager of Northern Lights Public Radio. Each week, Brandon and myself review regional, local, and national stories with a uniquely Stevens County point of view.